Let's talk about what's on the front page of the Sun now. Ellie Henman joins us, bizarre editor at that great newspaper. The headline on page 1, sacks Wallace, sues the BBC. MasterChef host latest headache for telly bigwigs. Ellie, very good morning to you.
Morning, Mike.
Great story, this. But, I mean, does he have any chance of winning? Is that what he thinks he's going to do?
I think Greg thinks he's got a very good chance of winning. I mean, this is a real headache for the BBC. So what he wants is access to this 200-page document, which he believes will help pave the way and help him be able to sue the BBC. He's ultimately claiming that no one investigated his neurodivergency. He doesn't feel like he was well supported by the BBC. And the first step for Greg is getting access to these documents, which he thinks will clear his name and help him take his case further. I mean, this is such a headache for the BBC. I think they believe this might be over. They were really hoping so. I mean, they did the investigation as best they could on MasterChef. They came up with the findings. Greg and John Turode obviously left after that investigation. But as with most people, Gregg Wallace has made it clear kind of from the start that he wouldn't go quietly. And he's bided his time. And now he has lodged these papers at the High Court.
Right. And what does he think is in these particular papers? What is it that he's after?
He thinks it's discussions about him, things that were said about him. These documents will include internal correspondence. They'll include multiple things that were said, parts of the investigation he wasn't able to access. Now, as part of the investigation, obviously, we know there were 45 complaints made against Greg. Some were struck out. He obviously wants access to those too, because he does feel that his reputation has been really damaged by this. He obviously gave an amazing interview with Clemmy Moody and sort of really fought to clear his name. You know, he did say, I apologise for what I've done wrong, but some of the most serious allegations I've been cleared of. And I think access to these documents will allow him to say, look, here it is, because I think he still thinks people don't believe him.
Yeah. And is it a case, does he think anyway, of the BBC just kind of panicking and going, oh, we better just sack everybody because we can't do anything else?
Well, the BBC very much are backed into that corner. You've seen it so often now with so many cases of wrongdoing and bad behaviour at the BBC, and they're struggling so badly to clean that corporation up. You saw Tim Davie yesterday sort of clutching at straws when he was trying to defend the corporation, and you think, well, actually, there are people at the BBC who have behaved badly and they need to come out. But sometimes the handling hasn't been the best. I think they need a better handling system. They need a better complaint system at the BBC to centralise the entire thing, to stop it becoming so messy.
Well, Tim Davie, as you say, was before a parliamentary committee yesterday. Let's have a look at what he had to say.
Are you able to assure us today, are you able to give us your categorical assurance that whenever we next have you in front of us, there won't be a scandal of BBC talent abusing their position, which you need to apologise for?
We are seeing people call it out, and that is a positive change, but it's ongoing work. I don't think you can change culture in 6 months and suddenly say nothing's going to occur. We may see more things coming out, because in some ways I'm asking for it and being utterly transparent and running towards the problem. That's what we need to do.
I mean, it's a bit disingenuous of Tim Davie to make out that you can't fix something in 6 months. I mean, he's been there longer than 6 months. What are you talking about?
And I find that absolutely wild. How about Tim Davie bringing a zero-tolerance approach to bad behaviour? And maybe that would stop it. I think there's always been this thing, especially in television, of the talent. You can't upset the talent. Nothing must be said to upset the talent, because without the talent, the show gets made. And I think they've been pussyfooting around people for far too long. Put in a zero-tolerance policy, protect your staff, protect the people who work there. It's, to say you can't change something in 6 months, as you've made very clear, he's been there for a long time. It's just bananas. And I feel he was obviously squirming, and that must have been very painful for him. But you're paid a lot of money, Tim Davie, and I think, you can engender change, do it. Yeah,
I mean, I think he should change his white trainers, to be honest, because it looks ridiculous with a dark suit, but there we are. That's just my opinion. And what about Gregg Wallace's kind of conversations with people like John Turode? Is he still talking to anybody? Has he been kind of isolated and exiled into, never working in TV again? Or can he actually come back?
No, so we know that Greg and John don't talk anymore. I think when this investigation started, they very much distanced themselves. John very much distanced himself from Greg. This was very difficult for them. I think they had a very strange relationship, because although, Greg was best man at John's wedding, but then John was like, I wouldn't describe us as friends. It was always a quite strange relationship. They were very close on screen, and when they were filming, but when they weren't together at all, and they didn't talk. But no, they no longer talk. I don't think Greg will come back. I think he's admitted himself his television career is over. I think he feels that he wouldn't do a Philip Schofield and sort of end up on Castaway Island and on Channel 5 in a year's time. This is it for him. He's opened a sort of fitness business now, but in terms of the money Greg is earning in comparison to what he was being paid by the BBC, and in terms of all the deals he got off the back of that, you know, his earnings have been quashed.
Yeah.
And he's definitely trying to recoup some of that, recoup his reputation and recoup the millions that we think he's going to be claiming for. I mean, this is going to be a big claim he's putting in.
Right.
And BBC are going to have to fight very hard to get rid of it.
Yeah, and they can't really settle it, can they? It's not one of those things you can settle out of court, because he wants to see the documents and he wants to have his day in court, I guess.
I think so. I think Gregg Wallace will not be going quietly. I think he'll go kicking and screaming as loudly as he can and make people see his side of a story.
Yeah, absolutely right. Well, it's a great story. Fantastic. Ellie, thank you very much indeed. Ellie Henman there, bizarre editor at The Sun. Zarina says this: Mike, if asylum seekers are suing the authorities, why shouldn't Gregg? No criminal charges have been brought, and I believe he has a case for the BBC to answer. Well, I don't think there's any doubt that the BBC have completely mishandled almost every single case of scandal that they've ever had to deal with. They get them completely wrong. They got Hugh Edwards wrong. They obviously got Jimmy Savile wrong. They got Russell Brand wrong. Now they've got Gregg Wallace wrong as well. And they either panic and do the wrong thing too quickly without taking sort of care to consider all the various different options, or they do nothing.